Welcome to Ask the Tech Coach, brought to you by the TeacherCast Educational Network. If you are in charge of professional development and looking to build an innovative digital learning experience, this is the podcast for you. Join us each week as we uncover strategies that tech coaches are using to drive their digital transformations one classroom at a time. And now for your host, with over 2 decades of experience working with tech coaches and EdTech companies from all around the world, Jeff Bradbury.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is Ask the Tech Coach podcast, episode number 93. Today, we're going to be talking about those summer purchases and how you as a tech coach can help your school district make the right decisions for both your classrooms and for your students. I want to bring on my co-host today, Miss Susan Vincent. Susan, how are you today? Welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here again and great to be talking to all of you guys out there listening. And as we embark on summer and, all those good summer discussions that we have as tech coaches, we're going to, talk about and try to guide you with some advice and suggestions from our 2 cents.
Certainly as we go through, welcome to June. Here we are, and it is that time.
Wow.
We've gotten through the worst of this. We're looking forward to the game ahead. We don't know if it's going to be physical. We don't know if it's going to be virtual. We don't know if it's going to be a combination. And so many school districts right now are trying to figure out how to make those purchases, what kind of purchases, and also how to budget for a world that we don't know if it's going to exist the way that we think it is. So today we're going to be talking about 5 different things that you guys can do as tech coaches. Before we get to those, don't forget that we are here every single Monday morning. You can find us live on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, anything like that has podcasting. You can, of course, check us out today. And I am so excited that we are doing our 2nd week of Tech Coach Live right here on YouTube. Don't forget to check us out, subscribe to us, and let other tech coaches know that we are here. We are your Tech Coach podcast. If you have any questions, you can simply come over here and ask the tech coach. We'd be happy to check you guys out. Absolutely. Susan, as we look at these different purchases, as we look at these different options, what's the most important thing that we as tech coaches can do? Because we really are that frontline group where administrators are more the decision makers. We are the ones that are in between that boardroom and the classroom. What's the most important thing that we can be doing when school districts are looking at making these important decisions?
Well, I always feel like part of my job is vetting those resources first. Teachers are introduced to so many things. They're out there reading and hearing from friends in other districts. Oh, I use this tool and I use that tool and it's awesome and it's great. And then they'll come to me inevitably saying, oh, we should get this. We should get this. And I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. So I think it's so important as a tech coach that we are staying up and aware of things that are coming out, listening to blogs like ours and other great blogs podcasts and blogs, reading, listening, and getting that information and then vetting it. As a tech coach, it's so important for us to get on there and try those resources, try those tools ourselves and see what they can do. Most of us, I'm fairly certain, are either former teachers or still in the classroom teaching yourselves, as you are, Jeff. And it's so important for us to try those resources and then, start having those meaningful discussions. And, that's where we bring our administrators in.
It is those conversations that we have with our teachers. What are you using? What do you like? What are you seeing? And most importantly, how are you using it in the classroom? That's when we can take that data and go to our administrators and say, hey, look, there's a lot of people that are out there using the free version of you name your favorite application. They're asking me to do training. Can we do training? Can we look into purchasing this? Here's how much this is going to cost. What do you think? Can we try it as a trial for this next little bit? It's going to be great no matter what. Having those conversations and getting that data is so important, especially now, right? I know there's a lot of these decisions being made and already have been made, but the summertime is starting. Budgets are turning over on July 1st for many school districts, and having those conversations in there. Now, the other thing that I always suggest is if you're seeing teachers try things out, grab those apps, try them out, test drive those free demos, right?
Definitely.
There's still a lot of tech companies out there now that are doing free versions of everything.
Yeah, we've been so blessed with that the last few weeks. And usually, you know, a lot of them are going on until June the 30th. So get those in there and give them a try.
And when you're doing that, I think as tech coaches, it's important that we make friends, right? Make friends with other educators that are using those tech tools, follow the hashtags, but also reach out on social media and ask questions, form relationships. Say, hey, I've got teachers that are using it. Where are your resources? What do you have? Do you have any ambassadors? Are there people out there that can help me out? We're interested in moving forward with something like this. Make those friends, build those relationships.
Yes, I learned that early on as a tech coach, 15 something years ago. And that was one of the first things some of my mentors taught me is, you know, go to the conferences, talk to the vendors. You know, yes, sometimes they're going to do a big long spiel that you're not really in the mood to listen to, but it is important and it makes a difference to make friends, especially those ones who are personable and want to form those relationships, who are truly helpful and want to assist you and guide you. And I've had some great relationship with vendors over the years and, you know, still have those 15 years later with either the company or, you know, in a few cases, some of the same people are still around and I've dealt with them for years and it's awesome.
I've made a lot of good friends that have helped me out both publicly and professionally and privately over the last 9 years of doing this. And you know, having those relationships, and it's great, right? If you have a good relationship with the company and your teacher has a question, you can go right to that source and say, hey, how do you do this? Or is this something that you might be interested in building in? Because we have a need for this. And then you can really not only help out your district, but help out many districts.
And in many cases, you have that ongoing relationship and they'll use you as a trial run of, hey, we're trying this new feature, you know, give this a spin for me and let me know what you think. I've been involved in that many times and it's been awesome for myself to learn and my teachers just to be able to try something new and see what might work for them in the actual classroom setting.
So we're finding out today that it's all about relationships and communication, right? The first thing that we want to think about when we're purchasing is having those discussions with our teachers and our administrators, having those discussions and conversations really with the apps themselves, right? Like you sit down and test drive this both from a coaching point of view and from an implementation point of view.
And don't be afraid to ask them those hard questions.
Oh my goodness, yes. Trying to figure out exactly how and you know, organize these different things. Almost every single app that I know of has a little question mark up on top where you can ask or you can support or you can help. Everybody out there is looking to be helpful into the classrooms.
And look into those badging programs. You know, they have ambassadors, they have whatever, certified trainer. And really it just takes going through some of their little online tutorials and being willing to learn, and then you get the emails to try new things and you're on their email list. And again, that relationship is developed in Twitter groups and Facebook groups.
Now let's talk about the fourth thing here, which is, okay, if we're going to purchase this, how are we going to roll this out? Having those discussions about training, implementation, and really how do you do that in both the physical and the virtual? And I'm not even talking the COVID stuff here. I'm talking, you know, if we're going to be putting out an app district-wide, how are we going to be supporting that with our internal trainings, our face-to-face trainings, our building trainings? What is that going to look like? It doesn't make any sense, Susan, to bring something on and not have a plan for rolling it out. I've seen it happen and I've seen it not happen so many times.
Oh no, you have to, you know, truly start introducing that to your teachers, even early on in the talks, you know, hey, we're looking at some tools that might do X, and then we're looking at some tools that might do Y, and that might be coming down the pike, and just planting seeds and preparing them. And then once the final decision is made and the purchase process is coming, and then as the tech coach, you know, we're already working on implementing some new stuff in my school system this summer, and we've planted those seeds. Now we're almost to the processes where the company is getting us set up. They're going to be training my partner and I. And then we're going to be differentiating our training. We're going to have some online training available, video tutorials, as well as written cheat sheets. And, if we're able to meet face to face, we're certainly going to cover it that way. So all of the different facets, just like we differentiate learning for our students, as tech coaches, we have to do that for our teachers, that we've said on here many, many times.
With everything going on right now, there's so much new. There's a lot of free. There's a lot of things up in the air. There's school districts that are switching major philosophies. There's administrators coming in. There's a lot of things changing. I want to be careful when we talk about this last thing, but really the question that I think is most important here is, should we? When we're looking at bringing in stuff, should we be doing this? For instance, if there's an EdTech company that we like, that we use, should we be getting a district-wide license? Should we be getting a school-wide license? Should we be just getting it for those 5 or 8 teachers? Making those important decisions. I don't know about you, but I know so many teachers that I've spoken to, even tech coaches, they're tired. They're looking forward to a new year. They don't want to go into an unforeseen year here.
Right.
With so many unknowns, and suddenly I have to learn a brand new system. Even the other day, I was speaking to a teacher who's, he's of retirement age, but doesn't want to retire yet. And he's sitting here saying to me, why would I come back for another year and have to relearn everything? It's just easier for me to jump out.
Yeah. And we've had a few like that too. Yeah. And it's so important to, think about, bringing in those new tools, not just for the fact of it's the trendy thing to do because learning and teaching is evolving for various reasons in our world right now.
Right.
Think about your school's philosophy and why you're doing what you're doing. That should always be the case, whether we're, doing distance learning, whether we're face-to-face, whether we're a hybrid thereof. Always that should be your question of, why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we bringing in a tech tool? Not just for the fanciness of bringing it in.
And those are difficult, right? And that's really our role, right? It's the administrator's role to manage, to set up, to delegate, all those different things. But it's our role as tech coaches to be that go-between, right? Why are we doing this when this other thing works? Hey, this other tool does 3-in-1. This just does 1-in-1. Is it better? Is it not better? What are we using it for? And sometimes we have to make those decisions. I know there's a lot of teachers using apples, but we want to use bananas because banana also has an apple thing in there, and we're moving forward.
Right.
It's not easy, and we are here for you guys. We're going to be planning a summer of tech tools, tech tips, how-tos. Stick with us. We have an amazing summer planned up. Susan, I want to go over some of the different topics that we have coming up here as we go through here. Next week, we're going to be talking about tech coach interviewing tips. We're going to be talking about how to run successful boot camps, both as physical and virtual. And we're also going to be talking about how we're going to be training our new teachers going forward.
So
that is everything that we got going on in June. And of course, July, we're going to be shifting conversations into that EdTech space. We're going to talk about different applications like Wakelet, like Microsoft Sway, and you name it. We've got some great shows coming up. So check us out. You can, of course, find us over on AskTheTechCoach.com. We like to post into a variety of social networks, and we always use the hashtags, ETCoaches. Guys, we are here for you. We are the Tech Coach Podcast. AskTheTechCoach.com. Susan, where can we learn more about the great stuff that's going on in your world?
You can find me on Twitter at SV314DWS and at my blog at techimaginations.net, which we have some exciting new changes coming to that here.
You've been listening to Ask the Tech Coach, hosted by Jeff Bradbury of the TeacherCast Educational Network. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter at AskTheTechCoach or online at www.askthetechcoach.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.